good morning. Hi there if you're watching the replay, and hello if you're watching live. I'm Maddie Harvey. I'm a knitwear designer and knitting teacher. I'm based in sunny Edinburgh, another sunny day here, and I love helping knitters develop their creativity and their confidence through my knitting patterns, kits and online events. This is my Thursday live video, which I call Knits and Cake for Breakfast. So the idea behind these little weekly videos is that I do a little bit of behind the scenes stuff, show you what I've been working on, and then I do a little tutorial or give you some top tips at the end. So if you're watching the replay, I'll go back and put subtitles in, and the timestamp will be down there for the little tutorial if you're here for that and you don't want to watch the behind the scenes stuff. But I call them Knits and Cake for Breakfast because before the pandemic I was hosting a weekly knit night that I would always do some baking for, and then on a Thursday morning, which is the morning after the knit night, I would have a bit of the cake for my breakfast. So I got into a habit of baking weekly, but actually this week I haven't baked. I've been trying to keep it up, but I haven't baked this morning. I went along to a local bakery here and bought one of these. Well, actually this is half. I cut it in half. It's a Bounty kind of tray bake, which I have a feeling is a very British thing, a tray bake. It's a kind of cake that you make in a tray and you cut into pieces rather than a kind of cake sponge. We call them a tray bake. So I think it's got coconut in the icing bit, and then on the top it was like one of the mini Bounty bars across the top of it, and I've cut it in half because it was massive. I think the bottom has got maybe got digestive biscuits, so it's very, very sweet, but it's nice. The bakery that I went to had an amazing window display, and they have so many cakes it's really hard to choose something. Loads of different fancy cupcakes and things. So, but yeah, I love coconut and I like Bounty bars, so that was a bit of a no-brainer for me this morning. So I was going to show you what I've been working on this week. I have had a bit of I don't know what the word is, trial and error with my knitted necklace, ready for the workshop. So I'm sorted now, but the sort of process of recreating this knitted necklace for this weekend's workshop has not been as smooth as I thought it would be. I thought, oh yeah, I'll just be able to count the stitches and work out what I did. I don't know how many years ago I made this, 7, 8 years ago, quite a long time ago. So this was one prototype that hasn't worked. I mean, it looks nice, but when you go to put it on, it's too wide, so it sticks out. It's not going to lie straight. It would be fine if this I-cord was longer, but if I try to fasten that at the back, can you see it's just too wide and it's all kind of bulking up here. So I had to go back to the drawing board, and I'm there now, I'm sorted now, but I have knitted, I don't know how many of these knitted necklaces now. I'm getting quite good with the old short rows and everything. So yeah, that's good, all good practice for Sunday's workshop. And if you missed out on those workshop tickets, I'm actually running another one on May the 9th, and the people on the waiting list got first refusal of the tickets for that, but the rest of them that aren't taken up by waiting list people will go live this evening at 8:30 p.m. British time. So if you were interested in that, the link is via my website, maddieharveydesigns.com. I'm also doing a second version of the Picking Up Stitches workshop on the 9th of May because that was really popular and there were a lot of people on the waiting list for that one too. So again, I've given them first refusal, but they'll go on sort of general release to the public at 8:30 tonight. So that's Thursday the 22nd of April if you're watching the replay. Yeah. So yesterday I had one of these days where quite a few things went wrong and I just needed something simple to sort of sit and knit. So I decided to cast on something that I've been thinking about doing for a wee while. I'll hold it up this way round. So this is just a really simple top-down triangular shawl in stocking stitch with a garter stitch edge, and this is going to be a version of my sycamore shawl, which was the very first shawl that I had published in Knit Now magazine coming up for 5 years ago. So this is a small version, so this is 100 grams of full ply, and it's got some lace and some cables and then lace again at the bottom. So there's a small size in, so 100 grams of full ply, or you can make a bigger one in double knit. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing the double knit version on 4.5mm needles, but I'm using some of the Jamieson and Smith lace weight in this lovely colour, which has got all these blues and a little bit of green and sort of purpley pinks. It's really gorgeous. That's L40 mix. And I'm holding it with this grey mohair silk Rico yarn. So these are yarns that I have in my online shop that I use for some of my kits. And on a 4.5mm needle, they just have a lovely drape and halo. So that's what I worked on yesterday. Just needed something that didn't require too much concentration. And I also, this isn't in the pattern because it's one of the first patterns that I wrote, I've put in, I did my bump free garter stitch tab, which came out really nicely. So if I ever reissue this pattern, I'll definitely include that in it, because I think that's something people get really annoyed with, is when you do the garter tab and you end up with a bump because it's kind of pushing up. There's too many stitches all in one area and it's all pushing up. So with this one you add in some yarn overs so you don't have as many stitches in there, and it's worked really well. So I'm quite near to the point where I'm doing the lace, which I'm looking forward to because I haven't done any lace knitting for ages. So that's keeping me going. You know that thing where you're knitting a pattern and then there's a bit you're really looking forward to, and that's like the motivation to do the bit that's can get a little bit monotonous if you're just doing some stocking stitch. So this morning I was going to talk about choosing colours for the Trigpoint Shawl Mystery Knit Along, which is happening on the 7th of May. So what are we, nearly 2 weeks time. There are lots of people have bought the pattern, which thank you very much if you're one of them, and quite a lot of those people have joined the Facebook group. So if you've bought the pattern, there's a link to that in the information sheet that you get, and yeah, you just need to click on the link and answer the questions to be accepted into the group. That's where I'm hosting most of the knit along. I'm not doing it on Ravelry, although you can buy the pattern on Ravelry and in my PayHip shops. But yeah, the main sort of community bit is in the Facebook group or on Instagram if you use the hashtag Trigpoint Shawl, and we'll be doing some Zoom knit nights as well once we get started with the clues. So a lot of people have been in the Facebook group sharing their yarn choices, which is really lovely to see. So I thought I would talk through some of the things that you need to think about if you're choosing yarn for the mystery shawl, especially if you haven't picked out one of the yarn kits that's been specially dyed by the Fibre Fox Georgie has got some kits on her website, which is thefiberfox.co.uk, and I think she's got them up for pre-order because they the ones that she dyed up already sold out very quickly on Friday. So you can go over there and pre-order one of her gorgeous kits which have been dyed especially for the knit along. So you need 200 grams of yarn, in 4-ply or fingering weight, and I've designed the pattern to use one speckled yarn and one solid coloured yarn, but you can also do it in 2 solid colours. The main thing is that it needs to have high contrast, which I'll talk about in a minute. So you could do it, in 2 solid colours. So now I've got a big box here at my feet. I can't lift it up, but I did take a picture. I've got a big box at my feet with a lot of my 4-ply stash in it. Some of it is wound into cakes and some of it isn't. So I'm going to pull some things out of it just to show you. So you could do it with two solids. So here's 2 skeins from Whistle Bear. This is All at Sea and this one's called Dawn's Promise. So 2 solids, that would work nicely, and actually some of the preview knitters have used 2 solid yarns and it's come out really well. Or the other thing you could do is you could actually do it in 4 50-gram skeins. Because the shawl is worked in 2 halves, and we're going to work on the 2 halves at the same time, you could use 4 different coloured 50-gram skeins, so 2 for one half and 2 for the other half. And the great thing about it being done in 2 halves also is if you're concerned about keeping up with the pace of the clues, but you still want to take part, you could just knit on half of the shawl at a time or during the knit along, and then you could do the other half afterwards. So in this box I've got quite a few 50-gram skeins. I'm going to have to bend over to pick them up. So what have I got here? This is a Tucker wool and this is a Garthenor. So they're 50-gram skeins, so that could work for one half. And then I've got that one and that one. So they all look quite nice together, and I could probably do one half in those and one half in those. So that would be another option if you had a lot of 50-gram skeins of 4-ply fingering weight in your stash, or you wanted to order something, or you wanted to knit a shawl where 2 halves were different, just to give it a bit of a different look. That would be another option. I'll just put these down over here. The other thing that would look nice is if you have any fades in your stash. So if you have mini skeins in a fade, you could use them as one of the yarns. Or, I'll need to bend down again to pick this up. I have in here 2 of these gradients. Now these are Billum, who I think are in Hungary. Yeah, in Hungary. So these are both 50-gram cakes. So I've got that one and I've got that one. And I could pair them up with something and use one for one half and one for the other half. And that would look really nice. Or you could use, if you've got a gradient, you could use it across the whole thing. Or, as I say, mini skeins sometimes come as a fade set, don't they? That would be gorgeous if you wanted to use a fade if you've got something in your stash that's just waiting. You would just need to find a neutral that would go with it, like that would go maybe with both of those across the whole thing. So that's another possibility. Now, the thing about what kind of yarn is best is something that's going to give you good stitch definition. So something that will plump up a bit when you block it and wash it. I would try to avoid anything with too much silk in it or too much alpaca, because although they have lovely drape, they tend not to kind of keep the shape of the stitches so well, especially once you've blocked and stretched things out. So I would avoid things with too much silk or alpaca in them. But it would be fine to mix up bases as well between your two yarns. So for example, I've got this which is from Bear and Sheep's Clothing, and it's supplied Falkland Merino, and I think that would look quite good with actually this one, which I'll show you in a minute. I know these are both speckled. I'm kind of going against what I've said in the pattern, but I'll show you why they work in a minute. This one is by Lovebug Yarns, and it's a single ply merino. So as long as they're the amount, you know, the length in 100 grams is similar, so the thickness of them is similar, I think you could mix bases quite happily. Just the main thing is to avoid too much alpaca and silk. And if you do, there's some swatching information in the information sheet. You can do a little swatch. It's in garter stitch, and just see if you like the effect of the stripes in the two yarns. Okay, and then this is the most important thing, is that you want something that's got a high contrast. Okay, and what I mean by that is not so much to do with a high contrast in colour. So like these two are quite high contrast in colour, these two Whistlebare skeins. But what I mean is a contrast in tone. Okay, so that's to do with the lightness and the darkness of the yarn, of the colours. So if we actually take the colour out of these by taking a photograph with the black and white filter on, then we'll just be left with the sort of lightness or the darkness of the colour, and we'll be able to tell if it's going to show up in the stitch pattern. So I've put my phone on black and white, and so you can see there that the navy one is showing up as really dark, like almost black, and the pinky one is showing up pretty pale there. So they would be a good combination because we want to have a good contrast between them. Okay, so let's just have a little look at some of these other ones that I was suggesting and see what they're like. So these are two yarns from Cat and Sparrow, which are gorgeous, and I had wound them up for something, but for this mystery knit along they wouldn't be a great choice because that's reflecting a wee bit, but hopefully you can see there they're very, very similar in tone. So when you look at it through the black and white, you're just taking the colour out and all you're left with is the lightness or the darkness of the colour. So they wouldn't be good because there's not enough of a contrast between them. These two that I showed you a moment ago, although they're both speckled, they actually have really good contrast. So they would be quite good because the sort of one with the black and purple is coming out fairly dark, and this paler one is coming out pretty pale. So the contrast between the tone is really good there. So that's kind of how to work out whether your yarns would be a good choice or not, is to either, on my phone I can choose, when I go into the camera I can choose to have it on black and white photo, or take a photo and then in the kind of editing bit of your photos you should be able to change the colour to, there should be different choices for different filters, and one of them should hopefully be black and white, and that should help you choose. But if you do that but you're still not really sure, what you could do is do a little swatch and then take another black and white photograph just to kind of double check. Yeah, so hopefully that has helped. If anybody has any questions about choosing yarn, or they want me to have a look at something that they're thinking about using, you can just tag me on social media at Harvey Knits, and I should be able to help you If you are interested in the Mystery Knit Along, the first clue comes out on Friday, May the 7th, and there's lots of community stuff going on. There's a Facebook group. There is going to be weekly Zoom knit nights on a Friday night that the clues come out. There is also, if you use hashtags on Instagram, we'll all be able to find each other. So if you want to buy a copy, you can do that via the website, which is Maddie Harvey Designs. And I will see you next Thursday. Okay, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.